All right, everyone. Welcome to another Dentman podcast. Man, we are going a little bit different route this time. We don't have the usual crew here. We brought Sina on. He's always in the background doing all the technical stuff for us. But tonight we were like, no, we are going to bring Sina on. And it is truly an honor for me. And the other gentleman that I'm bringing on that we just met probably 2 minutes ago, but he's such a nice gentleman. I really appreciate you coming on. I don't want to butcher your name, but I'm going to say it, Mr. Omari Fraser. I hope I said
Yeah,
that correctly.
yeah,
The
yeah.
Omari is in the world of finance and real estate. He's located in Calgary, Canada. I am going to let you introduce yourself, Sarah. Tell us a little bit about you, what you do, and we'll get things rolling.
Yeah, hey, I appreciate you having me. I want to give a shout out to Harmy Gill for helping me connect with you guys here and everything. And it's awesome that to come on here, show you guys a story and all that, and as well share some value um on what you guys do and to the crowd, of course. And a little bit about me. I'm based here in Calgary, Alberta. Funny enough, I was actually born in England. Born in England. I like to say born there, raised here. That's kind of how I like to describe it here. But been in Canada for majority of my life here, and absolutely love the country and all that stuff here, which is awesome there, and as well the opportunity that it provides for me. And then I guess into a bit of that, I come from a football background to where I come from a football background. That's funny enough how I actually met Harmy because her son played football. I was coaching at the time. Everything got to see him grow up and everything, and as things transitioned, I was in school, went to school for business, majored in management, and then at the end of it, got into financial services. And I've been in financial services now for just I guess just shy of a decade. And along the road of that, also added my real estate license. So this is kind of where I've worked to where now I kind of wear two professional hats. I've been really working on my branding. So like, how am I going to describe myself? Because I know people either focus on one or the other, but I just saw a massive need for people needing both areas. Just in the case of where, like, on one hand, people need help on, financial service side, getting a plan together, insurance, investments, other financial solutions, you name it. And then on the other side, it's also just, everyone's biggest asset they're going to purchase is going to be a home at some point. I know there's some conversation on if a home is an asset or not, but that's the biggest purchase you're going to make, hundreds of thousands of dollars, lots on the line and everything. Just really trying to align people to where understanding how both sides can meet. If I need to help someone start saving to then buy a home 5 years down the road, cool, we can do that. Someone's ready to buy. Let's make sure we're all aligned and I have an understanding of what we're going to need, and just meeting that together for people and putting the two hats together. So it's really cool from where I'll say now, to be able to be in a spot to where I'm seeing the two come together and help people where they need it the most, and more importantly, just serving Canadians, which I think is something that we're all trying to do here. Solve issues, solve problems, and then see the reward on the back end of it.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. I mean, that's one of the things we always talk about is like you find a problem, you try to come up with a solution and essentially fix it and provide some sort of services to others and serve others and try to make it better for other people. And I always find it fascinating that when we come from different countries, as you know, I come from Iran, Sina comes from Iran, and we all come to this country and we always look for opportunities for ways to give back as much as we can in whatever ways that we can. So that's an amazing thing. As far as the financing part of things goes, as you know, finance is a big topic in our industry. I'm a practicing dentist, and we know that financing is a big, big topic in our industry. What are some of the challenges that you see in people's life when it comes to finances? Are they mismanaging? Are they managing money correctly? Do you have to do a lot of educational side on the finance of things? What are some of the challenges that you see our people are facing when it comes to their finances?
I'll say for North America, the big issue is debt. That's the overwhelming. Like, I know Canada and US have a lot of different things going on, but I think the one thing that really joins us is debt. Household debt is one area that is overwhelming. Is an overwhelming stat of just like how high it is. Canada, it's quite high. I know in the States it's lower, but that's definitely an area where people are just, having to finance their lives through credit cards, line of credits, you name it. And that's a really thing that's kind of deteriorating people from really trying to move forward or progress forward. It's always just having to, go back and like, I got to pay off this line of credit before I can, really see some gains moving forward. And I know there's lots of resources out there, different perspectives, influences, everything that is, people are just trying to help people like make a decision to move forward. And the best way I've found to really help, clients who I come across and different, because there's different types of debt too that are also a matter of fact too, like maybe student loan, line of credit, government, you name it. Really just figuring out a way I like to say, do both, save a bit, pay off what you can. It's going to be it's going to be a journey. It's a journey to be able to pay off the debt and everything and try and, pry yourself to move forward. But I've always liked the approach of, hey, we're going to save a bit. We got to do something to save, build a savings habit, just something that you pay yourself first. When you get to that point where like, all right, I saw I just paid off 5,000, 10,000, 20,000 of debt. Like, wow, I did that. And I have 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 in savings. Okay. Like I see the light, I'm starting to see, and then it'll eventually transition to where, maybe we pay off the rest of the debt. We just keep going that path, you name it. And everyone's got a different, plan and lifestyle that they want to do. But that's kind of how I want to address it there. But it's really to do with debt. And I guess the other thing I want to preface that as well is, for people out there, just try and manage your cash flow. What's coming in, what's coming out. Try and manage that really well. The last thing you want to do is just try to be maintaining your lifestyle that, as we all know, we're always trying to flex. I know that's one thing the kids like to say and everything and show up, but just manage your cash flow. Like try and live off as little as you can for an extended period of time, and that will really help bolster you moving forward and all that. So
that's amazing. Yeah, that's amazing. I think one of the biggest issue that I see, and especially in the US, there's something say keeping up with the Joneses. Everybody's trying to, live above their need and not really like, oh, I'm bringing in 10,000. Let me go out and acquire 15,000 worth of debt. And then they're out $5,000 a month and the money that they don't have. So it forces them to go to ours like credit cards and things like that. So I know that's definitely one of the things that is a struggle, especially for the society, because the credit card companies, they make it so easy for people to go out to get these credit cards, and then they don't realize, it's kind of like a trap almost, because then the interest rates are so high, and then, you spend $1,000 with a 25% interest rate, and then, you try to make minimum monthly payment, but then the payment you're making doesn't even cover the principal of it. So it makes it super challenging. Once you get trapped into those credit cards, I feel like it's super hard. I mean, I was a victim of that at once, and it was just so hard to try to come back from that sometimes. And it takes a long time because the cost of living, the inflation, everything just keep going up and going up. Now, in the other hand, you talked about student loans. As you know, in our industry, student loans is such a big topic. Do you think that the student loans consider as a bad debt, or is it considered as a good debt when it comes to financing?
I consider it as a good debt. Good debt because, and the reason why, I guess, obviously, on the number sheet doesn't look good. So I think we can admit that. But, for someone to take out student loans to then put a bet on themselves that, hey, I'm going to determine the rate of return I'm going to get out of this. You can't go wrong with that. Like we've seen multiple cases of athletes and, big influencers where they just say, hey, I just have to bet on myself. And for most people who are going through the school education route, dentistry, like, you're going to take future potential, use it now, go through school and everything and work it back. I've always liked the idea of student loans being that it's a good debt, because you determine the rate of return that you get out of it. Are you going to go and immediately start a practice, grow a business, have that business now change maybe the dynamics of your future? So, you can't, maybe at the end of your lifestyle, end of your life, you can then determine the rate of return on it. But as you're working through it, it's unlimited on that. So when it comes to student loans, that's definitely a good debt to take on. And just really make sure you buy into it, because you are betting on yourself and you want to be able to tell your story at the end of it that, hey, took out a loan, did all the things there, and look at the lifestyle I'm now living. Is it a win? Yeah. Nice job.
Wow. So yeah, good point. So if you allow me, I just want to go a couple of steps back and ask you some personal question. I mean, this is like the culture that we are carrying on at Deadman Podcast. We always starting and, asking our guests about like, how did they get into the position that they are today? Like, so, I mean, you just mentioned that you've been in the financial world for more than a decade, and you got into the real estate like a couple of years back. Why did you get into the real estate world? And how did you get into it?
Yeah, hey, that's a great question. I'll also answer, I guess, with finance too. So got into, as I was like wrapping up school, I was also playing football at the time, like back in 2017. this is now a case where I was just wrapping up school, kind of deciding like how do I want to move forward here, and what kind of ties into what my decision making was. With I had a lot of students, also friends, and colleagues who are also like trying to find internships, and you're just trying to figure out like, hey, what's my next steps leaving school here. And came across a company where I was able to actually present it to where I was able to actually become independent, get licensed in the industry, and do something where it was more education focused. So I always did feel that like, okay, like there's not really a lot of education about money. And, I come from a family background here where I was fortunate. My dad was one to where he always trying to teach us about like how the different ways you can make money, things you can do. Your money can work for you. You work hard for your money, but you should also make it work hard for you. And I just knew like there was a world there that really attracted me. So, that was one thing where I got licensed in the industry. I was 21 when I got started. It's definitely a tough time to be young and in the finance space, because when you typically think of like a financial advisor, you think of someone who is older. I'm not going to say the demographic that I know we always joke around the industry, but it's just where like, okay, like you have a vision of someone who's like, oh, like this is someone who's in the financial space. And it was definitely a challenge the first couple of years, but one thing that really helped me was just staying power, staying committed, always learning, always advancing myself, just being someone that was just really wanting to get good at the craft of just helping people with finances, but as well just learning how to address people with their finances. Like that's a whole other dynamics. People don't really like talking about money. Been in that journey now, and it's been cool to see the ends of it, because now I see the results, see the results I've brought to people, see the things they've done, and that's really cool to see. And then to also answer your question on the real estate side, my parents are like real estate investors here in the city. This is one thing now where kind of the family business was, hey, you've been in the financial side for so long. I think you should be able to like, we're looking at either using a realtor, or you should really get your real estate license and just help out whenever we need, or when we need to do transactions, just do it through you. I was like, yeah, makes sense, no problem. It's easy business, so it'll just come to me whenever it needs. And as I was going through it, and there's a moment there where I was really noticing that my group of friends and generation, they were kind of in that lifestyle, like trending lifestyle, to where like, hey, they're going to be looking for a house soon and having those financial questions coming up soon. Like they're now going to be into that space where they finished school, got their job, saving for the house. Hey, I could really help them. Like they know me, they trust me, I can help them move forward here. So that was really kind of a place now to where I was like, hey, you know what, let me try and blend the two together, because I know there's people out there who need help with money and want to buy a house, and I can help them there. And I know the people who have houses, have real estate, and I can help them optimize to move forward. And that's kind of where I blend the two together to, navigate where I'm now, where, I like to say on one hand, I help on finance side, financial services. On the other hand, it's real estate. What side do you need? I can help you on both. Let's get you to where you want to go.
Well, yes, I mean, that's a really good mix and good combine for like most of the people. So you'll be like the go-to person for the both financial side of their business and also the real estate. I mean, you've actually, from my perspective, you actually made a lot of the smart decisions over your careers. I mean, this is what I can see today. And for the challenges that you have faced initially, I definitely get what you're talking about. Why? Because I do have like many financial advisors friends who are actually tackling with the exact same, issue that you have tackled before. And most of the people and business owners, they do have this like, trust issues. So they're only like, look for someone who is like in their like middle age, or someone who is like, look more experienced than some novice 21, 22 years old kid who just want to advise them for like some financial thing. And that was a really, good story that you just told us, and kind of inspiring for like most of the people. Yeah, just keep it going and do the good work. Your time will definitely come. And another thing that I wanted to ask, you probably know that Deadman Podcast, it's for mostly for dentists and and the dental industry. So, and you definitely aware of the financial, the importance of financial literacy. So what, from your standpoint, from your perspective, what are the most common mistakes that dentists are making on a regular basis when it comes to their like financials and all of those kind of stuff?
That's a great question. And that's kind of where I've, as I was preparing for our time and everything, I was like, all right, what we want to see here. And there's a few things we can go about it, because there's, as the frontline the frontline workers, the employees, the contractors, as well as the dentists, from owners, the founders. There's kind of two sides that we can approach this from, and kind of what I have prepped here is where I'll be able to touch on a bit of both, because as I'm sure you guys know, like the main goal to get a dentistry, or once you finish your education, is to work in a dentist office, get the experience, and then eventually open your own shop, right? Is that kind of like the trend that happens a lot?
Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah.
Yeah, nice. And one question for you, for Milad, do you have your own practice?
No, I actually work for a big corporation here out in Nashville.
Yeah, nice. And
Yeah.
with you as well, Sina, sorry. For you as well, are you with a big firm, or do you have a firm yourself?
No, I mean, I wish. So I'm not a dentist. I actually work for Milad.
Milad, nice. That's awesome.
And don't let him lie to you. He's lying. He doesn't work for me. So this gentleman, he's a co-founder of a company called Allo AI, and they're out in Vancouver, Canada. So he's just been super humble.
Oh, hey, I love it. The humble brag. And so, kind of what I have, I guess, I don't say prepared, but I can touch on is just where, like, maybe as like we'll touch it from the base, from like the entry level to then maybe the higher level, where like, all right, you're an owner. These are some things you can look for, some tax areas that you can apply, because I feel like there's two things you can do, because there's a few levels to it. But the first part, maybe there's the contractors and employees side of it, right? Would you guys say there's more contractors or employees in the dentistry industry? Like when someone walks in, and they have the receptionist, they have the doctor, and then maybe the dentist assistant. Like, how does it operate? Like, what you've seen the most? Is it more employees?
So mostly is employees. I mean, we do have some temporary, workers that come in, or temporary doctors, but mainly it's like W-2 employees.
Okay, cool. And W-2A, if you guys say in the States, right? Yeah, cool. So that'd be like T4 is for us up here in Canada. Yeah. Nice thing is where if you're like an employee with a firm, right? Most of the time you're going to get taxes taken out for you. So you have to save for it separately. Along with that, maybe a set hours, set wage, set salary. Cool, very safe and consistent. Another thing too that can help is group benefits. Group benefits are like group benefits on like the health side or savings side. Because I feel like that's an area that, when you look at like and like this is where I was going to break into, like a small business. Obviously, they have the owner, and then he's got his constituents to take care of, or not to take care of, but to help ensure, like, hey, you help me grow the business, and in return, you're going to get that security out of it. And do you guys find there's like a big retention issue in the industry?
It really depends. I mean, as far as dentistry is one of those fields where people kind of use bigger corporations sometimes as a stepping stone for themselves. Mm-hmm. Or if they go in, but in general, yes. I mean, this is one of those things that I think our industry has a challenge with in general. Go through so much of changes at one time. A lot of younger doctors that come out of dental school, they go work for corporates, and then they kind of find their ways into the industry after a few years. They go open their own practice, or they go work for different companies. I mean, since I left dental school, I probably switched like a few jobs just because of management issues or other things. But yeah, I mean, the retention is definitely an issue that is known in dental field too.
Yeah, and along with that, I feel like it'd be something where it can help get addressed, where I know it's tough as owners because it's always where you want to maintain control, but having, contracts you bring in, and maybe employees, more importantly, have that sense of ownership, or like, don't give them ownership, but have a feel of like, hey, like, this is what it's like to own a practice and be involved in it. And I think that would be one area that can help for retention as well, also as incentive, as like a nice incentive to keep maybe good talent. Because obviously when talent grows and they grow their skill sets, like, okay, either my skill sets are too big, I'm not getting paid enough, my benefits aren't really good here, I feel like I can grow and expand more outside. And I feel like if business owners, they'll have to find that sweet balance of like, okay, like, what can I share as a sense of ownership to give to employees that can help with retention. When it comes to the financial side, as either employee or as employee, just ensuring that you have a good plan. Most of the time when you come out of school, you're gonna have some debts. Still, keep your living expenses low. I feel like once someone like comes to school, you probably see it a bit too, where they'll get offered, you give them a job offer, guaranteed hours, guaranteed wage, and maybe they show with a nice new Tesla a couple weeks down the road. Yeah, that Tesla's not gonna have a payment on it or no more insurance, and a quarter of their income's now going to, quarter to most of a third is going to go towards that car versus where it should be going towards maybe that debt repayment of the student loan that they took back. So just maybe that's one of my things there for employees, just to ensure that, yes, you got your first big job. Nice, cool. Still try and keep your expenses low and funnel that down. Kind of what changes here is for contractors is ensure that they understand that they need to now take out their taxes and that they get paid, and as well track expenses. Because as a self-employed person, I'm not too sure what it is in the States, but I know here it's T4A. You get to now track your expenses, gas, meals, all that stuff that it takes for you doing business. You could then get to use that for tax time. So understand the two differences there, because it's a big difference of like money getting taken out for you versus you need to do it yourself and being responsible to do it. And as well, still being able to then take money out, plan your savings, start doing debt repayment. Most of the time when it comes to like the entry level stuff, it's, hey, start a savings habit. I think that's a blanket thing I could say for anyone coming out of school. You're fresh 18, just start a savings habit of some size. $1 a week, $1 a day, 25 bi-weekly, 25 a month, do something. So that's a big thing there. I think would be quite huge for just to hear again and start from there.
Yeah, that's amazing. You mentioned that. I can go back when I was like 17 or 18. I used to live in Florida, and I had a friend of mine. His name was Kurosh, and he was telling me back then. I wish I would have listened to his advice, but I didn't. And he always used to say the same thing. He's like, man, if you can save $1, $5, whatever it is, a week, a day, you never know. 10 years down the road, you look at it, you forget about it, and you all of a sudden you have 50,000, 100,000 sitting somewhere, and you didn't even know about it. So it's definitely one of those things that, even now as I'm getting older, I'm like, it's so important that, we don't think about it, but in every way and in any form or shape. Even last night we had one of the doctors on, and he was saying the same thing. It's just at the end of the day, it's the money that is in the bank account that counts, nothing else, especially in the business, because if you don't have cash in the bank account, then you're going to be running into a lot of troubles, because then you're not able to manage your business correctly. You can't invest money into your business. And I think that a lot of time that's really the focus for, I think, younger people, like you said, is just like focusing on trying to save the money, put the money to the side, that when the opportunity comes for you to invest the money somewhere, you have it. Because a lot of time I've seen it too many times where, the time comes for you to invest the money into something, but then you realize, man, I don't have that money. And you just now lost a very good opportunity to put the money somewhere and make something happen. And I think that has been one of the things I've seen. The trend of it is like, there is a saying said, richer gets richer. The richer gets richer because they have the money, and then they buy in at the right time when the opportunity comes. So that's one of those things. So in the financial world, do you see people that invest the money? Is that essentially a true statement when it comes to the right timing in the right place where people have that cash available?
Yeah. I can imagine like everyone likes to find like the best time to like what's the next stock, what's the next fund, what's the next like property that's going to be a big shot. I'm like, end of the day, it's just having time in the market, right? I try to time it. That's not going to help. But if you're able to just say, hey, I've been invested in the market for the last 5 years, 1 year, 10 years. Like that's not what's going to really help show out in your overall end results, which is important there. And the other thing I was going to mention on, because I guess I want to flip it, is from the owner's perspective, a lot of doctors and everything. So one thing that we find here is that now as owners, there's always the startup phase. You're grinding, you're going through it all. You're just trying to keep the doors open, get clientele, keep the seat full. Keep that seat work, because I think an empty seat's not making you money in the dentistry world. Same as if you're a barbershop, right? You need someone in the seat to be paying you. After you get to a certain point, your business grows, you get to a certain size, you're like, okay, like I have retained earnings, I have money left over in my whole corporation, things are good, things are good. There's things that, as a dentist you can do, and this applies to a lot of doctors, and it branches off, is that when you're a privately owned company, that's privately owned Canadian company, you can do a lot of things to help ease with taxation. This is, there's nothing we can do to avoid them. They're going to come at some point, but how can we be more efficient? And this is now where on the owner side, the owner perspective, you can do some good things to help mitigate that and do a lot of like planning on it. A good area that, I'd recommend a lot of established businesses to look into that have retained earnings is corporate owned insurance, whole life insurance. That's one of the few tools that are left you can use. I know I know the rules mainly more here for Canada. I know in the States they have some rules there as well, different systems there. But mainly the idea is to where insurance is still one of the last tools that you can use that have very good tax efficiency, especially how you structure it. And you typically think like, oh, insurance, like insurance is there to help cover me, but for a business, for a private owned corporation, as a pro corp, doctor, dentist, everything, there's a lot you can do to help use it to help grow your business. Get access to capital when you need it. Great estate planning tool. Those are great things that you can use. Maybe you can help. It can be used to help with ownership structure, maybe a partnership, isolate agreements. Those are definitely a great tool to use on the ownership side to help elevate your lifestyle now, because you've done all the work, done the startup phase, you're in the thriving phase, and you're in that like, wow, I got money, I got left over. That's a good tool to use. Another thing too, from the owner side, is make it very attractive for you to retain talent. Turnover is probably the worst for an owner, because it's just a matter of, I got to find someone to train, find someone to come in, that whole process to get them to the standard that you want. So one thing I would definitely recommend, and I don't see this a lot in newer small businesses, but trying to bring on group benefits as soon as possible to really make that great retention tool to keep talent. Because if you're gonna say you're gonna have a great receptionist who knows your system in and out, runs the front of your house really well, but she doesn't have benefits, but she has a family and she's trying to, decide, should I stay? Should I go? I really like it here, but like my little Johnny needs glasses. Do I need to take that on my check, or can my benefits cover that? So that's kind of one of those things where, on the ownership side, really look into group benefits as soon as you can, not for the sense of where, yes, it's a cost, but what it'll bring for the peace of mind or retention and effectiveness it'll bring to your business.
No, that's so true, because my very first job out of dental school, I worked out in Iowa, and I worked part-time at our office, and one of the assistants, she was amazing. I mean, she had so many experiences. She used to come part-time work with me, and one day I asked her, I said, hey, it wasn't my office, I was just working for a gentleman, and I said, hey, what's the reason that you don't want to come and work here full-time? I was like, you're so talented, we're busy here. She said, honestly, the only reason I can't work here is because he doesn't offer insurances. So like you said, it's like one of those things where people, those kind of thing really matters to people, especially these days with the healthcare being where it's at. As we know, the healthcare industry, especially in the US, is so broken in so many ways, as far as like what's being offered and the services that are being offered. It's super expensive. I mean, everything is super expensive, but the healthcare in general is so expensive. So like you mentioned, I think it's very important for businesses to offer those insurances so that they can bring those talented individuals and it can benefit your business in so many different ways. And I think you definitely touch up on a very important topic that is sometimes gets kind of looked over. Some business owners, they think that, oh, just because I have to spend this XYZ amount of dollars a month, but they don't understand that you're actually providing a value to your employees that is going to help them stay in a place, feel comfortable, and say, hey, like you said, it gives them a purpose, more purpose to want to stay and work for you, rather than like going down the road I'm working for a company that essentially gives them the benefit that you're not providing them with. So that's definitely a very important tool to have in your tool bag when it comes to hiring and retaining the staff. The other thing I wanted to kind of ask you was, I mean, I know you got into the finance world early on in your career, but if you have to give the younger crowd an advice from your perspective, what is that advice is going to be?
It's going to be do things that others won't, so you can enjoy things others can't. And, I think just for me, especially being someone where I was someone who's self-employed right off the start, had to get used to being uncomfortable right away, where it was in my industry, it's always a lot of reach outs and, finding your own clients, which is one thing now, which I look back and like, man, like being 21, doing that was rough. But as I got older, I got better at it. It's definitely the business side that I would say is a really big thing that I had to learn. Just sort of had to learn and go through. And then on like the personal finance side and everything, just start with something. Start with something, get something together, get aware of it, do things that allow you to move yourself forward. A lot of the financial stuff that you'll hear out there is just going to be pretty much like, to simplify it, don't overspend, all right, manage your debt, have money set aside for a rainy day, be aware of insurance and understand that at some point you will need it. That's a whole other conversation, and then just have your money work for you. It's a very simple thing you can do. You can get as deep as you want into it, very light as you want, but as long as you're checking off that box there every month, you're progressing, and you're not as bad as you think you are, because there's people who are far worse, there's people who are far better, but you're right in your lane, and as long as you're doing something to get 1% better, like the book Atomic Habits, that's one of my favorite books to read. Applies in life, applies in business, in the gym, you name it. It's just just doing steps to get one step forward. I think what's funny too is I would always tell the kids who I was coaching when I was coaching a lot of football, that too is just 1% better, because your competition in life and business and everything, if they're not doing anything, you're getting ahead, and just allowing yourself to separate.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, well said. I mean, I am a, big fan of consistency and, that compound effect, I would say, like, just improve yourself like 1% a day. And I mean, yes, Omari, the question that I have for you now is, you have actually touched on the taxation and the taxes and all of those stuff. And there is a thing that I've actually heard a lot. I've actually read a lot of articles about this. I mean, the fact that the rich people pay less taxes comparison with the other people. And is there anything that they know that we are not aware? Is there anything that they know that we don't? I mean, what is that thing? I mean, is there any secret that if we know, we can actually pay less taxes in the future, I would say? The thing that I really like is those non-taxable events. So I'm always, we are all living here, and we have to pay a lot of taxes, especially in BC here. It's 51% of taxes, man. More than, what you earn on a yearly basis, you gotta pay, to the federal and, the provincial government here. It's something that, it shocked me at those early days. So is there anything that we should know to pay less?
Biggest thing is just understand, have a good accountant. That's always a good place to start. Have a good accountant who know, obviously is going to keep you out of jail. I think that's the first thing you want to do. But as well, have an accountant who's versed in a lot of different structures, because corporate tax rate. I know for here in Alberta, it's 8%, and then it can change different provinces and everything. But I think more important, I don't want to say in the number side of it, but more in just having someone who, as an accountant, is always trying to explore new avenues to help you pay things down less, right? Like trying to say, hey, trying to pay yourself out on a dividend instead of personal income. One area that I guess this is where I know more from the insurance side, is just using a nominal account called a capital dividend account that's tied to now where capital dividends that can be paid out tax-free. Those are definitely some advantageous things to use. Not a lot of people know about those, because it's one thing that needs to be tracked by your accountant, filed with the CRA, and then notify that, hey, we're going to pay this out tax-free. So I like to say, at least, and taxation is definitely one of those things where it's out of my realm. That's definitely an accountant role. But from what I've seen and other clients who have accountants, is that they're always trying to progress themselves. And hey, I see what this person's doing. Let me just assess how they're doing it, learn from it. Oh, okay, I like it, don't like it, too risky, not for you, and just really trying to navigate that whole learning side. Because, in my beginning of my career, I always noticed when I first got started into the corporate side of insurance and how it can be used to help business owners, a lot of accountants are quite close-minded in their thinking. And anytime I would propose a plan or something to a business owner, I'd say, hey, we see your accountant on board, and they'd be like, oh, it doesn't work, I don't like it. Kind of kills the momentum. But I've come across some who are like, oh, I've been hearing about this, and I've seen other companies do it, other private companies do it. I still know a few things, but I want to learn, and that's kind of where now businesses are really trying to take advantage of those loopholes, things you can do. I know the one popular thing that I always see on TikTok is the heavyweight vehicles, where it's if it's over a certain weight, you have to write the whole thing off. I know Grant Cardone is a big thing where he's like, yeah, my accountant called me and I had to buy a jet. We're not going to be at that point. It's the smaller things. We're just making sure we're, tracking everything like that. But, there's a few things that I know here in Canada that you can do to, work down debt, is capital dividends, utilizing the CDA account, or eligible as eligible capital gains, and insurance is the one option there. And I think that's kind of where I don't want to sound like a broken record, but insurance is one of those things that, due to the way that it was in way before the income tax acts and rules were far in force, is one thing that's very looked over, because the way that insurance can be utilized is that it allows you to use loans, and loans in Canada, and I'm pretty sure in the States too, I think it's in the very similar thing, loans don't get qualified as income, which means it can skip income tax. So this is now where, if a business was to utilize corporate insurance, access to money through loans, structure it to where then they're paying themselves through loans. That's an interesting way to be tax-free. Now, of course, you definitely need to have the right structure in place, by a good accountant, good lawyer, make sure everything's set up to where whoever shareholders there. My job is to create the policy, create the structure, but definitely things you can do there. And it's just a matter of trying to navigate that journey. Because, I don't want to be one to say, oh, you can do this tax-free and that tax-free, because end of the day, the CRA wants their money. You want their money, so you want to make sure you can either defer it, and maybe the IRS too, for you downstates, like, do you can to help defer, and then from there, we're planning to ensure the future. I find those who plan to, let's say avoid paying tax, but understand, like, hey, if I can defer paying taxes to a certain point, I can use this money to help business venture, and then I can not have to have it in the company and all those things. There's lots there, but having a good tax planning part to your goal planning, your future planning of your business will definitely go along the way.
Man, that's a lot of good information, packful amount of information there. Man, I'm so impressed by you, by having so much information and knowledge and being so passionate every time you talk. So that's very inspiring to see. I hope that other people and younger people can learn a little bit and just understand that finances is important, money is important, because that's how you can get ahead in life. So we just want to make sure that they understand that. Hey, Mr. Omari, thank you so much for your time, man. I really appreciate you getting on. I know we had a little bit of a hiccup along the way, but hey, we got here. So yeah, man. So thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. You're more than welcome to come in anytime, discuss more stuff with us. I really appreciate your time, man. We'll see you next time.
Thank you, man.
Absolutely.
Thank you for the advice. Appreciate you.
Thanks, you guys. Take care.